Welcome to Real Estate Dads, where we talk about dadding and real estating and doing them together and doing them well. Today, we have an excellent guest, Chad Barber from Phoenix CRE. He has been a father his entire adult life. His oldest son is 21. His youngest is 4. He's also been in real estate for most of his adult life. So he has a wealth of wisdom to share, in particular, what he did different the second round of kids he had. Looking forward to getting this interview in the books. And Chad, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you are. So, when we do these, we just try to be as all natural as possible. We want to hear the stories of overcoming the odds. We want to hear the stories about, hey, this is a hard thing, we got through it. Those are the things we really like. We had, and we found that the more relaxed we are, the more easy it comes out. We don't have any listeners our listeners are dad focused guys. So we don't have anyone who's listening to this who's, I'll call it not focused on, kind of family and that kind of stuff, family and business. And we had one guy we interviewed last week, and it was just so funny. We talked to him for an hour, and it just seemed like he was crushing it. He's just like, got my engineering degree, changed jobs, this other thing, that went really well. Started investing in real estate. My daughter's a superstar. My wife's a superstar. Everything's great. And we listened to the whole thing, and we're just like, okay, we're really happy for you, but like, this is no trial or tribulation. At the end of the podcast, it's like literally it's like 3 minutes until we're like ending. And he goes, oh yeah, I'm in a wheelchair. I've got a degenerative disease that I've had for the last 10 years. And my wife and my daughter were afflicted with this other like really serious like medical condition. And we're just like, So I guess my point is, I'm going to talk a lot less when we really get going here, but just as natural as you can be on like whatever the stuff is. No one's here to judge or anything like that. Everyone's here to learn and get some inspiration on their lives, and then I guess we'll just get into it. So Chad, let's get a quick intro on you.
Yeah. Full name, Chad Barber, born and raised here in Phoenix, Arizona. Been married 20 years. I have 5 sons. Two of them are adults now. My oldest son, he'll be turning 21 here in a couple months. And then I have a senior in high school that's graduating here in 2 weeks. And then, my wife and I took a nice, healthy, little over a decade break between kids. And now we have a almost 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and 3-year-old.
Wow.
We kind of started all over again, which has been phenomenal. So that's kind of my familial, situation right now, which is beautiful. Growing up here in Central Phoenix, a lot of good stuff happening. Went to good local schools here. Took a little bit of a different route in college. Was able to play some baseball out in Iowa at a small school. Which was a lot of fun, and then came back home and finished up my education at Arizona State University with a degree in plant biology, of all things. And then, when I got done with college, pretty much went straight into the family business, which was process serving and private investigative work.
Wow.
Which was pretty cool. And then I'm sure we'll get into, how I got into real estate, but, that kind of sums up, my background.
Well, that's great. And how old are you?
Turned 39 in February.
Wow. So 39 and you have a 21-year-old. So you guys really got started early.
Yeah, we were 18 and 20 with our first 2 kids.
And that's fantastic. And so in the portfolio of real estate, and I was really impressed when you contacted me, just so the audience knows, Chad reached out to me on a postcard. He did a mailer. We own properties in real estate, and got a hold of him. And Chad's a real estate syndicator, owner, and also broker, and has done, how many deals have you done?
Probably pushing 70 now.
70 deals. And how many deals do you have in assets under management?
Assets under management right now, we've got probably about 250 doors under management, but probably have 400 units under development right now.
Wow. And all in the Phoenix Valley.
Correct.
That's fantastic.
Correct.
That's really great. Yep. So that's the professional background. So let's get into, let's go to that gap. What? So you got a 21-year-old, you know, so that's the oldest. You got a next one that's graduating high school. It's got to be like 17-ish. You got these kids' pictures behind you. What was the catalyst? Let's hear it.
Yeah. So you know, really young, being a teenage parent, you know, it's, you know, obviously very, very challenging. You know, the stats are stacked up against you. You know, we were, you know, pregnant almost all of our senior year of high school, 17 years old. We graduate, have our son 2 months after we graduate, you know, and then, you know, blessed to have our second son, you know, shortly thereafter. So we're really young parents. You know, we're putting ourselves through school. We're working our tails off. And, you know, it's a grind. You know, if you don't want to end up as one of those stats, you know, you've got to work your butt off. And I'm not saying, you know, it's just, you know, it was just my wife and I alone doing it. We had tons of family support. We were lucky to have, you know, both my parents here in town, both her parents here in town. So it really took you know, they say it takes a village to raise a kid. It really did for us when we were young. So, you know, fast forward to kind of my late 20s. You know, unfortunately, I lost my dad and my brother in a 2-year span. And, you know, the reality set in that, you know, I'm kind of the last guy in my family. You know, my dad's side of the family didn't have a large family, one sister that adopted kids. So I was essentially the patriarch of the family, and being so young, that kind of weighed on me fairly significantly. Like I'm the last one left. Yeah, I have 2 young boys right now that will kind of carry the name on, but you know that, you know, experiencing that much loss in a short period of time, you know, I talked to my wife about it. We were done. You know, we were perfectly content. You know, real estate career was taken off. Kids were essentially, you know, pretty self-sufficient in you know, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. And, you know, that's tough to make that decision to kind of start all over again. But having that pressure, having that thought, you know, we can have more kids. We can, you know, we're still at a great age.
Was it a pressure or a pull?
More so a pull, I would say. Yeah. You know, my wife and I made a decision, you know, let's have another couple kids. And, you know, what were we? We were 31, 32 with the next one. And there's an 11-year gap between son number 2 and son number 3. And then, you know, number 4 was right behind that. And then number 5 was a COVID oopsie baby. So
there's no such things as oopses here.
he's our bonus baby. So yeah, that kind of explains the gap. You know, we were just joking about this earlier this week. You know, shoot, in 2 weeks we could have been empty nesters at 39 years old. And, you know, that's a scary thought too. You know, if I have too much time on my hands, you know, it's probably not a good thing. So
how did your older kids respond? Like when you decided to start having more babies?
Yeah. They thought it was cool. Yeah. You know, at a certain age, they understand, they did understand kind of, you know, our situation that, you know, hey, mom and dad had us when we were really young. And, you know, when we told them like, hey guys, you're going to be having a little brother here, you know, their eyes lit up. They're like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing. And, you know, the dynamic of having, you know, kind of the 2 sets of kids, is really remarkable that, you know, it's hard to explain. You understand how fast this goes now. Since, you know, having the 2 olders and now with the babies, it flies by. And, you know, there's pluses to all that. There's minuses to it. You know, I can get into, you know, how, you know, my parenting has changed between the first set and the second set. You know,
I was thinking the exact same thing. I want to hear it.
Yeah, our life circumstances have, you know, completely flip-flopped since when we were, you know, 18, 19, 22 years old versus, you know, almost pushing 40 now. We see life a little bit differently. We you know, emphasize different things. And, that even goes back to, how my mom and dad raised me versus what we're trying to do with our kids now.
So what's what is the biggest differences that as a parent, that you're doing now or that you did with your new kids compared to your old kids?
Biggest difference is, I just being around more, especially this age. From the time they're 2, probably up to the time they're 10 years old. And, I'm sure this varies for everybody, but that, to me, that's a very, very special time in their lives where you can kind of see them grow up into kind of the man that they could be. And with my first set, the older boys, again, we were working a ton, putting ourselves through school. I did miss out on some things. I missed out on some soccer games, some baseball games. I did coach my oldest son in baseball a ton. But yeah, there was things I had to miss. And now with this next set, I don't miss anything. And
with this first set, you even put yourself through school during this time.
Yeah. Yep. Full time. Yep.
And the only oops baby was the COVID one. The other, your 21-year-old, you were 19 when you, or 8.
Yeah, we were 18 and 20.
And that was planned.
Well, no.
Oh,
no,
okay. Okay. So there's still same thing. Got a couple fortunate kids.
Right. Yeah.
So okay. So you had because all of your professional career, technically, you had kids, all of it. Like there was no prior time before.
My entire adult life, I've been a father.
And that seems like such a. I think about myself on having kids, if I was in my 20s and I go, would that have, I'd like to think it would have sharpened me, because having kids has done such a good job of kind of honing my kind of focus. Did you feel like that, or did you feel like you missed out on things in your 20s, or was there never any kind of?
I would say yes and no. It's, I think the blessing of having a family at such a young age is, you do become focused. You do become aware of, really what's important in life. You've got, humans to take care of, and, they depend on you and you have to be there for them. And, so instead of, going and, being in a frat house and, throwing, crazy parties and raging and doing all kinds of fun stuff, studying abroad that, a lot of kids get to go do. I was stuck in the classroom, stuck in the library, or working.
You know what I love? I'm so sorry, I'm talking too much already. But you know what I love about this is that, you technically had an opportunity to not necessarily go into the frat life, but at 39, you still could have been like, hey, my kids are graduating college, out of high school, they're in college. We can still, you're not 70. You could still go party right now. And you doubled down. You were like, no. More kids.
Yeah.
And I love that. I actually just love hearing that.
Yeah. Well, my soon to be 21-year-old, there's a good chance he will not be going to college. We'll see. We can get into, his thinking on that, which I support, wholeheartedly. But yeah, my soon to be high school graduate here, we'll see where he ends up. And, if he does the Greek life and, if I show up to parents weekend and, kind of show those kids how it's done, then, that might be, kind of my,
you can live vicariously.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. What's your 21-year-old going to do?
So he's gone the culinary route. He's all through his, middle school, high school kind of career, damn good baseball player. But it wasn't what he wanted to do, post high school. The kid could have easily gotten a college scholarship, played some ball at the next level. No questions asked. But when he was 14, 15 years old, he started working at a restaurant, here in Central Phoenix, and, kind of worked his way up from, busboy, and worked himself into the kitchen. And, the owner of that restaurant, really, really good, chef, taught him a lot of different things and kind of taught him, kind of lit that fire, that passion for cooking. So, as soon as he graduated high school, he got a nice job at the Little Nell in Aspen, 5-star resort, cooking at one of the restaurants there. And, he's bounced around over the last couple of years. And right now he's the sous chef at a really cool ranch resort in Durango, Colorado right now.
Oh, that's cool. Where at? In Durango or outside of Durango?
Just like 10 minutes outside of Durango.
It's like Bayfield or something?
They're opening up for their summer season here in a couple of weeks. So he's putting menus together and, starting to prepare all the fun events that they do for all their guests.
Man. Is he going to go to culinary school or... Nice.
That's on the table. That's definitely on the table for him. He's still trying to figure out what he wants to be when he grows up, and I'll support any decision he makes. It's been fairly important to us that with our older kids, when it becomes time to kind of make that decision if college is the right thing for you. You're going to have to make, a significant investment. College isn't cheap. College isn't as cheap as it was when I was there in the mid 2000s. It's a significant investment of time and money. So you better be really sure what you want to do, which is hard to ask of an 18 to 21-year-old. So go explore, go do things, go see the world, go figure out, what your passions are. There'll be a time to come back and make money. So
I just love hearing he's passionate about it. That's what I love hearing.
Yeah.
Because I think that a lot of kids who go to college aren't quite passionate yet. It's just kind of what's next.
I don't think you should go to college till you're like 25.
I feel super similar. Yeah. I mean, this later age where you have an idea of who you are.
I went to college when I was like 25, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I'm doing what I learned in college. And not most people don't have that story.
Yeah. And, I'm fortunate with my degree in plant biology. Again,
I didn't mean to ask you. Hold on. What's the difference between plant biology and botany?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing? Okay.
Yeah, same thing. So,
okay.
But, for the longest time, it was just kind of a, piece of paper hung up on the wall. Didn't really utilize it. But it really started, I actually use it now. For some of my ground up developments, Badwin, my landscape architect, on what plants to put in. So when they're trying to put in, native California plants, at my Arizona project, I'm like, guys, these plants aren't going to last in the summertime. Or again,
do they ever look at you when you say that? You're like, they're like, what do you know about plants?
I've never had a developer fight me on what plants to put in on a project.
Oh, it's so important. I'm in total agreement. You get these designers who you pay to do a rendering of your project, and you hand them to your construction, and they'll just do it. And then that exact comment, it looked good, but they don't realize that Phoenix gets up to 120 in the summer. And
yeah.
125 even?
125, yeah.
Yeah, it gets hot. Yeah, the worst part of our summers is your vehicles. When they've been sitting out in the sun for 2 or 3 hours, it's 200 degrees in your car. So
we have that's a covered parking value add.
I've been trying to think of a system that keeps your car at least air circulating through it with solar power, and goes, there's got to be, I've been because I'm in Vegas, which we're about 5 degrees behind you at all times. You're hotter, right? And but
Tesla has a thing like that. I think Mercedes has one too, where the car has a circulating air function while it's parked.
Well, it's kind of the flip flop of the East Coast. When it's 16 degrees outside, and you got to let the truck run for 15 minutes to get warmed up. We just auto start the truck, and out here just let it cool down for 15 minutes before you get into it.
Yeah, on the newer cars, the auto start function is a blessing. Yeah.
So Chad, asking here, how old was your father when he passed?
My dad was about 60 to 61 years old. So way, way too young.
Yeah. And
your brother, how old was he?
He was 27. No, sorry. No, 34. I was 27. Sorry.
So, and within, with your father passing, he had a massive assistance with your kids, correct? You said you had a good support network when they came out. So he was really around for really all of your, your older kids' lives.
Yep, for sure. Yep, for a good chunk of it. Yep.
And how did they respond when he passed?
So it was sad. Again, not easy on me. And then that, probably the hardest part of, having, one of your family members pass away is telling your kids, and seeing that heartache in their eyes. That's the worst job as a parent, is seeing your kids hurt. But, we did a good job explaining, kind of, why everything happened, and hey, Grandpa loved you guys a ton, and just remember all the fun times that you had with him, and and we got a lot of video and pictures of them when they were little, Grandpa doing all kinds of fun stuff. So they've got the memories for sure. It's tough on me not having my dad here with the next set of kids. And not being able to meet them and see them, grow up, to the young adults and young men that, that they're going to be. So, not easy with, telling them about their Uncle Clint and their grandpa.
I bet. That's one of those, it's one of those things I get worried about with my own dad. My dad's 86, and, my son is 2, and my daughter was just born, and I kind of bummed out that they won't probably really, in just being real. Like my dad said this to me. He said this to me just last weekend. He goes, I really would like to see your kids graduate high school. And, and I told my wife that, and she was just like, she kind of shook her head, and my dad's awesome. He acts super young, he's his age, but he also is, he's a realist. He's also a comedian. My dad's really funny, but when I think about, how your dad really assisted, you with raising your kids, and then, and you at this really young age, you're 39 with 5 kids, that's just such a, you've got such a fantastic, I'll call it breadth of experience. That's my only comment, I'm just curious how that affected your family. It was tough.
But we're perseverers. We push through, any obstacle that's come, my way or our way, whatever that may be. It's, you deal with the issue and you move on.
How'd you even get through it, man? That sounds really freaking rough, man. I can't imagine.
Yeah, not easy. Yeah, no, definitely not easy for sure. But, it's, the support system that you have. And, I can talk about support systems in business and real estate, the team that you have around you, make the projects go. But it's also the support team and your friends and family around you that kind of help you get through life and those tough, parts. Again, I only had my older brother, so I didn't have a big family to really depend on. But man, my close circle of friends and my wife's family, unbelievable through those times. And my 5 best friends, those are like my brothers to me. They know everything about me, even with everything that I've been through with the loss of my dad and brother. They're like, hey, Chad, if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. And it's been that system that has gotten me through everything. And obviously, I'm not giving my wife enough credit. She's unbelievable, and probably the greatest person I've ever met. So that definitely helps and makes things a lot easier.
And you run your business with your wife, correct?
A little bit, not a whole lot.
Okay. Okay.
What is a little bit?
She's a little busy with the kids, so
okay. That's kind of part of the running the business thing, right? Like the kids are taken care of, so you can work.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a partnership. It's teamwork. It's knowing roles and staying in your lane as much as you can. But we're getting ready to celebrate our 21st wedding anniversary in August. And, it's again, in business, in life, you need good partnerships. You need good people around you for anything to work.
So, okay, you got 400 doors coming out of the ground in Phoenix. And how are those projects going? How's the economy affecting you?
Yeah, so not easy on ground up stuff. So some of those 400 doors are existing multifamily projects that we purchased. So those are stabilized and running real well with great debt. That's a huge part of our equation in the Phoenix market right now. The ground up projects, they're going fine. They're either under construction with fixed rate construction debt, or we're in lease up in stabilization, and we got a few of them on the market now. What everything's coming down to right now is just how expensive debt is, to me, we have three pillars of development that if you're gonna push through on a deal, you got to have three pillars, and that's you got to have rents on the multifamily side. The rents have to be there. You've got your hard costs, and then you've got your soft costs, so your debt. If any one of those gets out of whack, your project's not getting out of the ground. And right now, it's the soft costs that it's really, really, inhibiting us to push forward and go out and get more projects.
The soft costs.
Yeah. So it's the debt.
Okay, so it's the debt cost, but you're not. So as far as cost for developing the units, have you seen a big increase in cost, or you have, but you just haven't felt that as a hindrance?
Yeah, construction costs, hard costs have remained flat for the last 2-3 years, and so that's been easy to project. That's been easy to model. Rents are holding steady. Rents are doing okay. They weren't where they were at 2 years ago, but we projected all this. What we saw a couple of years ago was not sustainable. So we underwrite every project uber conservatively, but what we really, really didn't forecast, again, we were riding a 10-year, 12-year run of a low interest rate environment. At some point, we knew the music was going to stop. We just didn't know when. So we basically modeled all these projects at 5.5-6% for construction debt, at 75% loan to cost. Well, today it's at 8.5 to 9%, and now you're at 55 to 60% loan to cost. And once you start plugging those numbers into your modeling, the deals become really, really thin. And if I start on a 200 unit building tomorrow, it's a 24-month delivery. So look into the crystal ball. Where are we going to be at in 24 months? I don't know. No idea.
So you started you got 400 doors under construction right now.
Yeah. But most of that stuff was, planned 3-4 years ago. So that's just kind of the life cycle and how long it takes to, number one, get a project into the ground, get it built, go through the lease up, get it stabilized, and then kind of see where you're at, with market conditions.
And where are you in, how many projects is that 400 doors?
12.
Okay, so 12 projects, 400 doors. And when is the delivery range from like the earliest one to completion to the furthest?
Yeah, so the last project that we've got going will probably be delivered probably first quarter next year.
Okay. And do you syndicate these deals, or is this personal money, or how have you structured these?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. So I have a ground up fund that I started a little over 2 years ago, and we've been able to utilize that fund money with, again, our personal money. We've got some strategic joint ventures with some other groups here in town that we've done a lot of business with, over the last, decade plus. So we don't like to put like all our apples into one basket. We like to, spread it around a little bit to kind of minimize some of the risk. And, that's why we, invested in some of the existing multifamily that we have, just to kind of offset that lack of income, while you're, constructing new projects. So, that one fund is super healthy. With cash flow coming in and projects being built at the same time, which a lot of funds, don't do.
And how many people do you have working with you?
Probably a solid team of 6. We stay real nimble, real light on overhead. any time that we're over our skis or overwhelmed, we'll definitely hire out and contract out for that work. So whether it's attorneys, accountants, admin type stuff. I didn't learn a lot of lessons since I was just getting going in real estate in 2007, 2008. But you hear the horror stories of operators and groups in town that had 30, 40 employees, massive payroll, and when the market shifted on them, they basically went bankrupt. So lessons from the past was keep your house in order, keep it thin, keep it light. That way, again, in the middle of a market shift, you're not going to be dying trying to cover payroll.
And where were you during 08?
2008. I was just graduating college and buying my first investment property.
Oh, that's a great time to be graduating college. 2008. Yeah.
Oh, it was perfect.
You're one of those guys.
Oh man, wild. Yeah, it was. And when I was first graduating, I wanted to be a police officer. With the background I had in in the family business, and that was right when all the departments were going through their hiring freezes. So that might have been a blessing in disguise. That I did not get hired on by any of our local departments, and I was able to kind of pursue my career in real estate.
Yeah, but you're a lot less stressed, I bet.
Yeah, sure.
Man, copying is not an easy. My dad was a Phoenix cop.
Oh, was it?
Oh,
Yeah.
How awesome! How awesome!
Yeah.
No, we have a great department here for sure.
Yeah, it is a good. He did Phoenix and San Diego, and he thought Phoenix was much better, much more well organized. Incidentally, I'm curious what both of you guys think. You're mentioning how the margins are so razor thin, and building multifamily, even Max has told me time. Everyone I've talked to, it's like there's no deals, nothing pencils. What does that say for we know housing supply, there's a shortage of it for a place to live for people. And the fact that there's no economic incentive right now to buy and build right now. I mean, what does that say for for that problem? What do you guys think there?
I'll let you go first, Chad. I'll speak after.
No, I think for the Phoenix metro area, we're still in a period of absorption. So there's still a lot of product coming online on the multifamily side. We're probably not going to see a real bounce back in rents until most of this A-class stuff gets built. And again, this stuff was planned many years ago. These are fee developers, so margins really aren't their deal. Especially if they have to hold on to them. On the single family side is where I'm most concerned with, because where we're at with interest rates, sellers aren't selling because if they locked in a 3% mortgage 3 years ago, 4 years ago, yeah, they might have a great chunk of equity in their house. That's fine. But if they're not going to sell and then have to go buy an expensive home at a 7.5% interest rate, they're not doing it. So that's putting a huge constraint on supply, which is keeping home values, extremely high right now. No supply, and there's still a lot of demand here in the Phoenix market. Now, what does that do for multifamily? Well, that forces a lot of people that would be buyers to be renters. And then you also have renters by choice, which is a huge demographic for, those kids ages, 22 to 30. But a lot of product coming online. There's still a lot of demand. I think in a nutshell, the Phoenix market's still really, really healthy. And unless there's a major catastrophe that happens, either globally or nationally, Phoenix still has, quite a bit of run left, I think, for at least healthy occupancy.
For landlords.
Yeah, for landlords, even home builders, if, the smaller ones, I'm not talking to those guys that they're doing, 1,000 acre master plan communities, but, the guys that are finding, 10 acres in quote unquote, a somewhat infill area. Yeah, those homes are flying off the shelf right now. They can't build them fast enough.
So, and how many people are moving to Phoenix still on average per year?
So at the height, net migration into Arizona, I think about 3 years ago, was 120,000. And it was pushing six figures for a handful of years prior to that. The latest projections I've seen, for I don't think I've seen 2023 numbers come out yet, but I think they're thinking about 50 to 60,000 net migration into the city.
Got it. So, Trevor, my answer on that is, 2008, this happened also. In fact, the Phoenix, a lot of their economy crashing within the Phoenix market on Las Vegas also was due to construction market, really falling before. They had such a massive percentage of people who were working on construction jobs that when all of a sudden the music kind of stopped during that subprime lending crisis, you had all of a sudden a bunch of construction workers who weren't working. And a lot of them left. Phoenix had, this specific population influx means you had all these people who were able to move in, but it also meant they had somewhere to move to when the market stopped. They'd come from somewhere else, so they could move home technically. And, that caused a really big vacancy issue within Phoenix in the years of 08 through 12. But nationally, 2008 through 2012, there were very few construction projects that started. There were very few shovels that got on the ground. There were all these projects that just kind of halted. And then during the tail end of those years, you had some projects get started, but new deliveries didn't really start till 2013, 2014. They started getting rolling again. And we've really been dealing with, shortfall of supply deliveries to the market for really the entire last cycle, which did fuel that last cycle in addition to all the government spending they did to get the economy, pick back up. And right now, we have one investor who just said to me flat out, he just goes, Max, the only thing that's going to get us out of this mess is pain and time. Oh, you met him. He's Graham.
Paying and time?
Pain and time. Those are the terms.
Pain and time.
Time and pain. He said those are what's getting us out of this. And, and what we haven't seen in this particular time in the market is rent decreases as a result of loss of jobs. We haven't seen that in this correction yet. Last time there was
or price decreases.
Well, but the price decreases are a function of sellers who need to get out of their real estate. Now, this year there is this question of, hey, how many assets aren't going to be able to cover, are going to have bridge debt that's coming due. They've got, bridge debt coming due. They've got to refinance. They've got to get done. And all of a sudden they're looking at new interest rates and their deals are levered incorrectly due to the coverage ratios for the income that's coming in. Now, that's due to the fact of one of these outside factors that Chad's mentioning. On an internal basis of these properties, the owners haven't yet seen a 20% NOI drop, and maybe they won't. We don't know. That's just a question that, we'll find out if that occurs. If you end up with having this mass number of properties end up on the market, or there's this period of time where, there's a mass amount of sellers who need to get out of their real estate, that's when you will see a decrease in pricing. But right now...
But is that going to happen? Like, what's going to happen? Are asset prices going to go down for both commercial and residential?
I mean, are they going to go down? As far as the crystal ball goes...
You think so, Chad?
Commercial a little bit, residential no.
The factors for buying the real estate are the same, that people can't afford the new prices. But the motivations for sellers to sell... They're just not there yet.
Not there yet.
They're just not there yet.
For single family, that makes sense.
For a lot of commercial also. If things are going okay, then they just don't have a reason to sell. And, within real estate, and I've said this on several people, but, real estate's a buy low, sell high industry. You just have to make sure that you have the capacity to hold out until you are selling high versus selling low. And that's what a lot of these owners are just tucking down. And on the other note, what I will comment in regards to, inflation in the market and, all these guys who purchased these pieces of real estate in, 2021 and 22, and Chad, you nailed on the head. This is not sustainable. But if they had kept interest rates low, it might have been. Like there's this question of kind of what would have happened had the interest rates just stayed where they were. And that kind of also then brings up this other question of, well, wait a minute, that means that the current interest rate hikes is this really where the pricing is now, or has the Fed intentionally tampered down where pricing really is? And if they were to lower interest rates, we would see this big spike in values as a result of that monetary change in policy. Because if we reduce those interest rates back down, well, all of a sudden all the pricing was accurate. It's it shows how much the Fed has intentionally tampered down pricing. And if we end up with the Fed, crashing the economy, they probably will have to lower interest rates, and we will see another spike in values. So, it's just such a hard thing to say what real value is. If we didn't have the Fed and there's no debt system in place, you say, what's a piece of real estate worth? It'd be worth the down, because that'd be all anyone had. If there was no ability to go out and get additional debt to buy the real estate, a house would only be worth the 10%, 20% down, or whatever it was that someone literally had in a bank account that they could transfer over if there was no debt instrument to be able to purchase those things. So, on a go forward basis, I'm a huge believer in the long-term inflation story. I really am. I think all the real estate is wildly underpriced, and that really everyone should be getting in. I really believe that. Low leverage, long-term hold. If you want to put later financing on, fine. But in regards to being a stable asset, not a fugazi, not a stock, or this thing where no one knows what the price is. I mean, real estate's brick and mortar. It's a brick and mortar investment. You can touch it, you can see it. It has a function, a purpose. Someone needs to live there. Yeah. That has always held true. And the unfortunate thing about our industry is we started working not in real estate, but in investments, where there's been all this structured or engineered returns, where there's this portion of pref and this portion of first position debt, and then the second position preferred return for an A-class investor class, and the secondary investor class. And what that's done is it's pushed all of this risk to be allocated out to these different ways to be able to sell a particular return to an investor. And the reality is there's too much money in the system. People should need to go back to basics and not be thinking about all the structured returns. I'm buying this real estate because I believe in the long-term need for this product in the market. And I'm not going to go into all these structured engineering that when the market corrects, make your asset wildly impaired for risk. It really does. And, in these financial tools, they call financial products that are being sold out in the market. They all have a purpose. I don't want to say any of them aren't even accurate in the final proposed IRR that an investor might see when they're looking at them. But my point is that real estate on intrinsic value, being brick and mortar, that's what the value of real estate is. And we need to get back to that, because that's still how the big guys, that's still how the BlackRocks, that's still how the major institutions, they understand this. They are putting out money that is protected on the long-term basis from risk. They put out first position debt. They invest in deals that are, core plus deals that aren't expected to have big fluctuations in income. They put out money in such a way that they are planning on not losing it ever, because they understand that they're in the first position or they're in a low risk situation for that asset. And the retail investors, they get way too inspired by a high IRR on a piece of paper. And I've written several articles about this recently, so it's a little bit top of mind. But as far as the economy goes and supply, it's going to take a while for everything to cycle through. It might just take a couple of years. It might take a couple of years of people going, hey, pricing's caught up. Maybe now I have a need to sell. Maybe interest rates drop down. It might just be a while until there's a motivation on the seller's part.
Yeah. Plus, Max, I'll add on to that. Again, speaking to those people that bought, large assets at inflated prices in 21 and 22. You're not seeing banks really eager to put these operators to the screws and take these properties back. So you're seeing some more workouts, some loan mods, because a lot of these banks that have lent on this stuff, they're regional, and they don't want to take these back and have these on their asset sheets. So while we all expected a huge influx of distressed properties. Yeah, they're distressed, but the banks are being a little bit more generous this go around than they were, 15 years.
They learned lessons in 08 too.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Well, they also know that if they allow the economy to start crashing, it will start crashing.
Yeah.
There's also this kind of knowledge that if we end up allowing this to occur, the other banks will also. I have a buddy who has his debt for an asset, multifamily deal, collateralized with a bunch of others in one specific fund, for one specific debt fund that I will not mention who they are. The average coverage ratio for that particular deal was, I think, a 0.85. within the
0.85?
portfolio. 0.85.
That's currently?
And that means the average of the portfolio of all the assets that are within that particular fund are not covering their debt service.
Yeah. That's the current situation.
For this one property in this one particular fund. And, this wasn't market wide. This is just one particular asset. But on a national level, if you've got all these assets that are in this situation, I mean, yeah, this could be a while to get things, reworked through. And the lenders don't want to take back all the real estate. Wild stuff. It's wild stuff. I had another guy who says to me flat out, he goes, Max, the market's not going to crash and the lenders aren't going to do these workouts until they fire the guys who put out the bad loans.
Something's got to break, though. Something's got to break.
So, yeah, something's got to break, and, something's got to break and we'll see how long it takes. This year is just going to, I'm still kind of waiting for I don't say riots, but, whatever the craziness is going to happen on this election year. I'm just still waiting for there to be some kind of massive uncertainty.
I just can't wait to see what breaks so we can see where the opportunities are.
Totally. So, I mean, we're all looking for opportunities. Everyone in the industry right now is looking for the opportunities. And, I've been just so pleased this year to be able to work on some stuff that's been not so on the grind of underwriting, 10 real estate deals a day and, on the phone with investors every day. I'll be honest, doing this podcast, connecting with Chad and making new contacts in the industry. Chad, I'm dead serious. I'm so glad that right now we have time to be able to do marketing that provides a value. My God, you had your first kid when you were 18. You put through college, having kids, you got into real estate. You have 12 properties totaling 400 doors. You've got another 250 doors that you have under management. I mean, this is such a great story for anyone who wants to get into real estate, who is saying, hey, I started at this age. I'm just concerned about this. How do I do it? And you go, dude, people do it. Here's Chad. And I know that might sound silly, but I'm so glad to be able to have these times where I can make these contacts, where we can build better rapport with guys, where we can pass some knowledge on to other people who are listening to this.
Self-taught with good mentors. That's that was the secret juice.
So do you have any mentors in the real estate industry that you recommend?
So most of them are personal to me. Probably the biggest mentor that's really responsible for where I'm at today is my wife's grandpa. When I got the real estate itch as young as I did, my wife's grandpa, very, very successful commercial real estate owner operator, and his story was, I'll take it back to the early 60s. He was a barber, owned his own business, and the owner of the little retail center that he was operating out of wanted to sell. Well, he bought it, paid it off, in 5 years, didn't take any debt out, kind of like a little seller carryback type deal, but paid it off as soon as he could. And from there, he would buy a property, pay it off, buy a property, pay it off. Wasn't glamorous, wasn't sexy, but when I wanted to get into real estate, he's all, Chad, come over. You're gonna help me do my books and help me with my quarterlies. I'm like, okay, fine, that's cool. So it was probably like the sixth day of the month, and all the rent checks have come in from all the different properties, and I'm doing all the math, and he did everything in a notebook. There was no QuickBooks, nothing on a computer for him. Everything was done in a notebook. And, I started tallying up everything and, looking at his income, looking at, the debt, the property taxes that he would pay out. I go, Grandpa, you're telling me you're making $30,000 a month and all you do is play golf and tennis all day. And he just looks at me with a smirk. He goes, pretty cool, isn't it? I'm like, all right, teach me everything. I want to learn this. But what he taught me was, this is a slow game. It's not meant to be, go all out, go crazy. Again, we were talking about all the crazy, structures and debt vehicles you can, get yourself in trouble with. If you're slow and steady, you can build something remarkable and special, but it takes time. You can't be selfish, can't be greedy, can't be impatient. That's a mentor that I'll hold dearly.
That's incredible.
For her, obviously.
You're so fortunate to have that man in your life, dude.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So lucky. Yeah. So, and then, I've got a handful of other mentors here in town that have kind of, they've understood my journey and where I've started and where I'm at. And, if I have any concerns, questions, or, anything, if I call, they pick up, and they'll give me the time, which is unbelievable. And, at some point I'll start giving that back to the next generation. I talk to my older kids about real estate all the time. We'll see what happens with my 18-year-old, see what direction he goes. But yeah, I've got a couple kids in my brokerage that are, 21, 22 years old, fresh out of college, got their real estate license, that want to get into this game. And, I'm an open book. I explain what's worked, what hasn't worked, and, just kind of give them ideas and just open doors for them, the same way a lot of people did for me.
Do you feel like any of your baseball experience has assisted you within business?
Yeah, more so just a work ethic.
Yeah, very specific. That was what I meant.
Yeah. Work ethic. I wasn't, a 5-star athlete by any means. I'm 5'8", with shoes on, 108, back in my playing days, 185, 190 pounds, not a big guy, but, decent athlete, and I knew how to play the game, but I also knew I had to work harder. If I wanted to, achieve the goals I set for myself, I had to work harder than the next guy to get there. And, that was, probably one of the biggest things, that one of the gifts my dad gave me was that work ethic. And he was, Chad, you set a goal, okay? You know where you want to go, but you know what it takes to get there. And, he had expectations for me. I set my own expectations for myself. And, you put enough work in, if you're lucky, you get to go where you want to go. It's a roller coaster. There's ups, there's downs. But, again, if you get a good attitude, you put the time in, good things are going to happen. And that's directly related to life, business, everything. So it's, people say baseball is the game of life, kind of just for that reason. It's baseball, if you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're in the Hall of Fame. It's unbelievable. But if I fail in real estate 7 out of 10 times, I'm getting sued. So
that's true. That's true.
Well, Chad, we're coming here to the end of this podcast. We're about to land this plane. I want to thank you for this show. Do you have any last pieces of wisdom to share before we wrap it up here?
I actually got a question before we wrap it up, Max. Chad, where do you see opportunity right now?
Specifically, luxury homes. If we're going to talk specifics and asset classes, it's very, very, very lucrative right now for builders, buyers, and I'm talking 2 million plus custom homes type stuff. Just anywhere. Yeah, obviously you got to be in a core part of town. You got to,
Paradise Valley or anywhere in the valley.
A huge mansion in Maryville, but yeah. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at everything on the market, and if there's a nice home that hits the market, it's sold before it's even finished. And these are cash buyers. And again, with this interest rate environment, they're paying cash. And then when rates become favorable again, who knows when that 2-5 years, whatever it may be, they'll refinance and pull that capital out if they choose to. That's been super healthy. Another opportunity is notes. Again, a lot of banks want to get some assets off their balance sheets. And they're open for business. So if you find the right deal with the right note, that's kind of exciting right now as well. Cause depending on the structure of that note, if it was fixed rate, what you're getting every month. If it was variable, you're clicking off 8.5% right now, which is great. And then, if your operator gets in some trouble, you can make the decision to foreclose or not.
I like it. Thanks, Chad. That's insightful and useful for me right now.
We're looking for deals that have, motivated sellers, whether that's a bank or whether that's a deal. The last deal that we bought in Phoenix, we had seller carry. So we found a deal that had seller carry. We bought it. It was small, 13 units in Papago, and we got it with a fixed 4.46 rate. Yeah, it was great. Well, what was great about it, and this is this goes back to my kind of view on the Phoenix market in general, as far as a lot of the concern goes with that market specifically trading off of fumes. What I mean by that is pro forma everything. The ratios for these deals got so aggressive that if you didn't have an increase in rent in income, your deal kind of didn't pencil. Like, you had to push rents somehow to make a deal pencil versus buying and holding and not having to, do this full renovation of your units. And we found this deal where we just bought it. We bought it. We had a little bit of correction to do in regards to, getting out some tenants who just were not quite paying, but there's a loss to lease story. But that was the only thing, was a loss to lease story. We think we bought it at a 5 3/4 rate. We were expecting it, after fixing, I think, 2 tenant issues, to have it move to a 6.5, and it had 4.46 in place debt. So we were like, that's it. No value add, no renovation of units, no big magnitude of task. That was the business plan. If you are looking to invest in the Phoenix market, if you are looking to invest in a fund for ground up development with a operator who understands risk, reach out to Chad. We'll have his contact information on our website, the realestateDadsPodcast.com, where if you would also like to be a guest on our podcast and you've got a fantastic story about dadding, please go to that website and fill out a contact form for us. And it is also a website where you can go and join our Slack channel, where you can network with other dads and also other real estate owners if you have a deal that you want to discuss or look at getting funding for within that community. Chad, thanks so much. Really appreciate you. And I'm so glad that you reached out to me originally so that we could have you on this call and get this information shared with our guests.